So if all this news about Sony discontinuing physical media in 2028 has you feeling like you're in a panic and you need to go out and buy a bunch of physical media, don't. If you're a collector and you've been collecting at a steady pace, continue to do what you've always done. Build a curated collection of games that you thoroughly enjoy and games that you'll probably want to play into the future. FOMO buying is pointless. I think anyone who's sharing information and kind of spreading awareness about it is good, and I think it's good for all of us to be aware about where we stand when it comes to physical media and how the landscape is changing and what we can expect in the future. But I think for right now, we don't have really much to worry about today. I think the physical games that many of us want will be around. They're going to be here. They're not going to magically evaporate and cease to exist. And I think there's still plenty of copies of a lot of these games for anyone who wants them to have them. Now, how much you have to pay for them, that's another topic for another day. But these games will be here. They're going to be around. And so, the way I kind of look at it is I'm continuing to collect and rebuild my collection just the same way I've been doing it pretty much all year long. And so I've got some pickups here that I want to go through with you guys so you can see kind of where I'm at. And I've really been trying to go value mode. I've definitely picked up a good amount of heavy hitters over the last few weeks, but the past few games that I've gotten have been real value buys, and we'll talk about it. Now, I think the PlayStation Vita is a value console right now. There are so many Vita games that have dropped in price. It's not even funny. Too many for me to start to rattle off or count, especially when you look at some of those games that were released by like Strictly Limited and Limited Run on the Vita. A lot of those games were commanding really high prices, in the early 2020s, 2020, 2021, 2022, but a lot of them have taken a significant dip. In a lot of cases, it's because a lot of these games have been released on the Switch. And so obviously because the Switch is just a more accessible console, more people probably want to play these games on the Switch, and that's understandable. But they're still on the Vita library and they're still available. But the good thing for Vita owners is that now you can get a lot of these games at a discounted price, and in some cases lower than their MSRP, the price that they released at. Visar Collection is one of those games, in my opinion, that was just an expensive game and has really come down. And I think you can get this game somewhere between $30 and $40 today, probably even cheaper in some instances if you're patient enough. And I was able to get a sealed copy of Visar Collection, I think somewhere around 35 bucks, which in my opinion is a really great game. This is a classic 90s arcade shoot 'em up game, and I've been kind of slacking when it comes to adding the shoot 'em ups to my collection. And so getting this game back at such a really great deal is amazing to me. Now, it's about 3 times the price, if not at least 2 times the price on the Switch, of course. But to be honest with you, I like the Vita screen. I think in some cases, when I play certain games, the Vita screen tends to be it feels a little bit more vibrant than the Switch screen. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I mean, both screens are close enough to where it doesn't really make that big of a difference. But the pricing difference is the big thing here. And I think the value that you get out of basically playing the same game, but just on the Vita is, it's worth it to me. So this is a great ad for me. For sure. So we added Visar Collection back to the collection here, and then we've got 2 Switch pickups. So the first one is Title, I hope I said that right, Milestones 2. There's one specific shoot 'em up game that I got this for, and I think it's called like Metal Black. I think that's what it's called, Metal Black. If I'm wrong, you guys can let me know down in the comments, but I think it's Metal Black, and I think that game was released on the Sega Saturn. I know I had the import version on the Sega Saturn. I had the physical copy, and I think there's also a version that got released on the TurboGrafx. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's a very interesting shoot 'em up. It has this like very old school, like 80s kind of feel to it, but the game, like the mechanics feel kind of modern in a way. So I really like that game. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to source an import Saturn yet, so I don't want to get the game and just not be able to play it at all. And so Taito Milestones 2 was a great way to get it back. This, to me, was a great Switch pickup because I got it during Amazon's Prime Day. I got it on Prime Day, and I think I got it for like 37% off. So it was a really good pickup for me. I think it was like 20-something bucks. Not bad. And happy to have it back into the collection. So this was a quality pickup here. And then we have this one here. So Mighty Goose, right? So Mighty Goose is a game that I talked a lot about back when I had a very large Switch collection. There was a point where I had, sheesh, I mean like 800 Switch, like 5 to 800 Switch games. It was crazy how many Switch games I had at one point. And the Mighty Goose was one that I really enjoyed. This is like the more cartoony version of Metal Slug, where you're starring as a blaster wielding goose. Very fun, hilarious, beautiful pixel art on this game. The music is pretty good as well. I rather have the limited run cover art than this one. I think the limited run cover art has the blue tank on it. But this was one that I found at GameStop today, actually. So I thought it was actually pretty interesting. And I used a coupon on it. I used some rewards points, which made this game $5.12. I can't be mad at that. And it does have the manual in there. So that's another really good thing. So a really good value add. Again, was glad to add this one into the Switch collection, and just kind of slowly, I'm like slowly rebuilding my Switch collection. I think I still only have like 15 games in my Switch collection right now, but maybe I'll do a Switch collection video and kind of just let you guys know what's all in there, because it's really not much. And then moving right along, we have this gem. So Devil Kings is a game that's floated in and out of my collection at least 5 times already. This is basically like a Dynasty Warriors style game where you're hacking and slashing through hordes of enemies, all of whom have like their own separate health meter. You have like these little mini boss battles. But it has a really great storyline. I think the graphics in this game is actually really good for the PlayStation 2. I think the animation scenes and like the cutscenes are actually pretty interesting as well. Pretty cool story. And I honestly think that this one's a little bit underrated. The Dynasty Warriors games are really fun games, and I feel like a lot of them are underpriced. But I mean, that's a good thing, right? This is typically a $15 game, even in the aftermarket. This one, though, just happened to be extremely clean. Just look at that. You could go ice skating on that. This one was like in very good condition, and so I went ahead and grabbed that. This is a GameStop pickup as well, so snagged that one. And then we have this interesting game right here, Death by Degrees. Now, this is a game that I feel like I might have seen it in passing, but I've never actually like took a real look at it and held it in my hand. But this is an interesting one. This is actually a double disc CD. And the second game, I think, is a demo for, what is it a demo for? Now I gotta open it up. So you have the main game, and then you have this demo for Tekken 5. That's what it is. So a pretty interesting double disc there. But this game is kind of like Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks in the aspect that it takes like a traditional fighting game and kind of branches it off into this like 3D adventure beat 'em up. Which, you guys know me, I love a good beat 'em up, especially a good 3D beat 'em up. And I'm a big fan of Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks. And so this is kind of like Namco's take on that type of spin-off where you follow Nina Williams and, you go on a pretty interesting adventure with her, just following the same Tekken-style fighting format. And I thought that this was really interesting. This is not a game that I don't think I've never seen this game at a GameStop before. I may have seen it at a retro game store and just passed it on by. But GameStop had this one, a really good deal too. I think this was like 15 bucks, which I thought was a pretty interesting price. And I figured at that price, it was worth looking into. And again, in the condition, again, another one, you could just go ice skating on that bad boy. Very good condition. This one actually still had the original PlayStation label on it. I just peeled it off because I was like, there's no need for me to keep that on there. So I took it off. Really good condition. Was glad to add this one back as well. And then last up, we have this copy of X-Men Legends 2 Rise of Apocalypse. Now, this is obviously a very popular game. I actually had part 1 and I traded part one away. I'm actually kind of mad. I'm like, damn, maybe I should have kept it. But they did have this one there as well. Again, I don't know who traded these in, but again, look at that. Get your ice skates out, man. Super clean copy as well. On this bad boy, really clean, a fun game. I'm a fan of like games that have that like isometric multiplayer gameplay style where you can utilize the mutant abilities. You got options, or how you can use the abilities and stuff. The gameplay kind of reminds me of Ultimate Alliance, games of that nature. But this was one that I just grabbed just because of how clean it was. Really clean copy. Manual's in great shape, and again, another GameStop pickup. So no mind-boggling heavy hitters, but just some quality titles, man. In my opinion, just some really quality stuff. real quality games and the types of games that I think, once you have all the heavy hitters that you want in a collection, it's always nice to round it out with these quality titles that aren't, ridiculously expensive, but still provide you a good amount of fun. And then, I'm just reminded about, how much fun there is to still be had on the Switch. Um, it's one of those consoles that I stay away from just because you can easily fall into the Switch abyss of games. And, next thing you look up and you have an entire wall in your house that's just a wall of red spines of just Switch games. And once I walked away from that, I told myself I was not going to get back into that level of Switch collecting again. So, and then finally, yeah, I mean, when it comes to value, the Vita is definitely a great value proposition. I know a lot of people are very sensitive to Sony and to PlayStation with their announcements and GTA 6. And in my opinion, I think they're just they're doing an amazing job of stirring up a bunch of controversy and getting a lot of eyes on them as a company, as they get closer to releasing this groundbreaking GTA 6 game. So let me know what you guys think about this. Let me know if you've got like PlayStation physical media fatigue at this point. If you're just done talking about it and ready to just get back to doing what you were doing before the news broke. Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll catch you in the next one. It's the Y2K Collector. Take it easy.